All right, we are joined by Raphael Ouellet. How you doing, Raphael?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm doing good. I think you have probably the best name, like IG handle name ever. When your brother sent me the name, your Instagram account handle, I laughed. It's like ganja smoke and rubber guard. I'm like, that's I laughed, dude. I was like, wow, this is brilliant. But
Two of my favorite things.
That's right. That's right. Of course, I'm interviewing you because you cornered your brother on Thursday at BFL 72. He faced Mateo Vogel. Now, your brother Nicolas Ouellet, tell us a little bit about his MMA career, and give us kind of a brief summary of his time in martial arts.
Yeah, for sure, man. We've both been training martial arts our whole life. Had my debut myself when I was 19, I think summer of 2018, and he made his debut in 2019. So we were pretty close in our debuts. But yeah, we were training our whole life prior. He joined JiuJitsu when he was 12, and I joined when I was 14. So then again, pretty close in the joining of the grappling. And prior to that, we were doing boxing and kickboxing and karate and
nice.
A lot of striking prior to that. But when we found jiu-jitsu, we really love jiu-jitsu. So that's our passion now. And yeah.
Right on. And this is, you're talking about Brazilian jiu-jitsu specifically or traditional jiu-jitsu?
Oh yeah, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, man. Yeah, okay. Yeah, for sure.
All right. Right on. So just in terms of where you guys situated, which city are you in? Just to tell us a little bit about it, because you guys run you run a dojo out there as well, yeah?
Yeah. My brother runs the club in Powell River. So Powell River's I'm so bad at explaining exactly where it is, but it's a small town here in BC, and we got a really good scene of grappling there, and it's coming along with the striking as well. A lot of silent killers that people are the names are gonna be known in a couple years, right? So wow. It's a growing gym, and our instructor Andrew Sissel started it a few years back, and we were lucky enough that he lended it to my brother. So that's how he ended up running the school. But it all runs from Drew, our coach Andrew. That's the other person that was in the corner with me.
Right.
That's our head coach, and he's taught us everything from grappling, and yeah.
The grappling is really key to this interview here, because this match here between your brother Nicolas Ouellet versus Vogel for the belt, the grappling was outstanding. You know, overall, I think this match was, in my opinion, fight of the night. You know, it was total nonstop action, very dramatic, lots of high energy. And I kind of want to get your assessment in terms of a round by round sort of assessment of your brother's overall performance. So take us through that, like from the get-go. Round number one, we noticed that there's no formal, fist bump. There's no touching of the gloves. I'm just curious to know. I know it's a minute sort of detail, but I was surprised to see that your brother didn't, formally.
There's more to that.
Okay.
There's more to that. So if you watch the weigh-in footage,
yeah,
where they do their face-off,
right?
Mateo looks to shake hands, and Nick shook his hand, and then the tape cuts on whatever was posted, right? The face-off footage. But it kept going, the face-off, right? They were both kept facing off. Then Mateo shook his hand again, put his hand out again. Nick shook his hand again. So that's 2 handshakes. We see him at the hotel, puts out his hand. You know what I mean? So then that's like 3-4 handshakes before the fight even starts. We're like, you know what? He's going to put out his hand, and let's just not, he's gotten his handshakes. You know what I mean? So okay. I feel like that's what Nick was doing. You know what I mean? Because, we didn't really go and talk about it, but
right. Okay.
I feel like, but he got his handshakes. You know what I mean? And it was all respect afterwards and before. But it's just, yeah, not much to it.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
That's kind of what I think it was.
Right. It's interesting because it's always dramatic, right? Because the announcers are like, oh, they didn't. There was no form, he left them hanging, which was for people who were watching it, or it adds to the drama. But let's dive.
Yeah, I guess it builds it a bit.
It certainly does, and it was quite a first round. Lead us through the first round from your perspective. What happened there?
I remember Nick came out with a real good pressure, maybe a 1-1-2, I think it was, and we planned real well for what. To be honest, I think there's going to be a rematch. I'll say it right from the get-go.
Okay.
I don't see many people that's going to beat Mateo because he's really fucking good. And I'll say it from the get-go as well. I don't think he won the fight necessarily. I think it could have been a draw, or it could have went to my brother. It was a very close fight. Mateo, all the credit to him. But yeah, like I said, I don't see many people in this featherweight division that can take the belt from him. So I see the rematch happening. But yeah, back to the first round. Heavy pressure for my brother. We were preparing for pretty much what happened. Mateo didn't have he was very hittable. You know what I'm saying? He kind of just went in for the grappling right away, and Nick embraced it. I think Mateo took him down. Mateo got the first takedown. I think Nick got put in an arm triangle right off the bat.
He did.
And it was dry, right? Like, it was pretty fucking tight. Sorry, can I swear?
Of course, yeah.
It was pretty tight, man. But I think Nick was calm, cool, collected. Mateo took his back. He shook him off, and that's credit to Nick's jiu-jitsu, because when a guy like Mateo takes your back dry, usually it's over, right? But Nick's jiu-jitsu is fucking high level, and it's as good as anybody's, man. So I remember the first round ending with Nick on top and bruising him up a bit, and that's pretty much what I remember from their first round. It's pretty back and forth, like hard to score. I would have scored it for my brother just because damage. Okay. For the damage, but there was good submission attempts, right? But if you rewatch it, I rewatched it, I think, twice.
Okay.
I think there was some real good damage from the mount there from my brother. But like I said, back and forth round. But yeah, you want to move on to the second one, or?
Yeah, no, it's interesting you say that, because I, in regards to that first submission attempt, I believe it was the first. Was it? Yeah, the arm triangle that looked really tight. I thought, to be honest, it was done at that point. I'm like, oh man, game over, right? And I've seen, he's a finisher. Like, he finishes his matches by submission, or more importantly, this match, one thing I've noticed is this relentless back, the sequence of attacks. It was spectacular to see, particularly from him, Vogel, in the first round. It's interesting that you say you gave it to your brother, like, as you think your brother won the first round. I think, for the most part, this is just my opinion. I'm just saying, in terms of the entire match, I would say, because of these submission attempts, the relentless submission attempts, I think Vogel really established his dominance, and I would give it to him on that ground, because of course your brother mounted and finished strong. He was about to really unleash there, and he made a statement as well, but it seemed like it came a little too late in the round, when you consider from the beginning to the end. In my opinion, went to Vogel because of that. But leading into round number 2, what happens there? Because this is a really, really interesting round, in my opinion.
To be honest, this might be one of the rounds I remember the least.
Okay.
I should have rewatched it before this, knowing that we were going to break it down like this.
I probably should have said, "Hey man, make sure you rewatch it." Blah blah blah. So that's my bad.
Fuck. I've rewatched it twice. I want to say I rewatched it. Obviously, I watched it live, but I think I rewatched it twice since. But I'm
going to refresh your memory, if you don't mind. 10 seconds into this match, something really pivotal happens. We see.
Is this the judo throws?
Yes.
Yeah.
We see that
The foot sweep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, like perfectly executed, and just dumps them there. And from there, he runs this round. I in my opinion, I should be asking you, what are your thoughts? Who won this round? But break it down from what you recall. I know you said you don't recall much, but
you just refreshed my memory though. The foot sweep, and then I remember him landing into some half guard and side control positions,
right,
with Mateo regarding from time to time, and very active with his guard, like you said. Like,
right.
Guy was really active, but Nick was really putting it on him with the damage in this round. And I think this is the round where the cut happened.
You got it.
Round 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that was the accumulation from that first round. Because if you look at the first round, like I was saying, I looked at Mateo after that first round. He's pretty bruised up, man. And I think that second round, it didn't take much for that cut to happen. You know what I'm saying?
Interesting.
So that cut came from that damage in the first round, or like good elbows from Nick in the second. But yeah, a lot of control, and I think he dominated that second round easy.
He did, and sure. I mean the visual of the blood speaks for itself. But I think in like right from the get-go, once he threw him, I'm going to go back to that throw because it almost established and dictated the pace of the match, similar to round number 1 with Vogel going for that initial finish arm triangle and then sequencing like a non-stop array of attacks. Like it's just, attack first and dominate as much as you can. And I think it's fair to say for round number 2, I went to your brother, and it's interesting too because there was also some submission attempts. I took some notes of the match. I was nerding out to that much, so I took some.
I should have done the same. It's coming. I learned so much watching that, and I'm just gonna learn more rewatching it. And that's what I feel like. Any high level pros on this, like from any promotion would watch that and
absolutely
and learn something, right?
I mean, sorry, go ahead. I'm cutting
you. Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say on that point, I think this match, if both competitors were to retire today, this match is probably one of their best matches ever as far as professional mixed martial arts. And I say that because it was a relentless pace. It was like the perfect booking as far as what BFL did, putting those two together, knowing that they're both Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belts. But the thing is, they put on 100% effort, 101% effort, and the fans, I think, ultimately saw that and respected that for what it was. If it was the jiu-jitsu action or the striking action overall, it was. I'm interviewing you now about it because I was just like, whoa, this is. I got to follow up on this. But what's interesting here in this submission, there was a lot of submission attempts, obviously from your brother as well in this round. And when the ref stopped to check Vogel's cut, at this point, what was happening in the corner? Did you guys think this was going to be stopped? This match was going to be stopped due to?
To be honest, I didn't.
Okay.
I was looking at my brother and just mostly paying attention to him, but I felt like it was going to keep going. It didn't look like too bad of a cut. Afterwards, it was like it was a bad placement. It was real close to the eye, man. But credit to whoever the doctor was for not stopping it, because, gotta let the show go on, right?
For sure. And we notice here that this is where we see Ouellet do a rubber guard. Speak to us about his jiu-jitsu, his approach to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Has he competed much in sport Jiu-Jitsu, or is it mainly in application in MMA? Well, what's the story?
It's Andrew Sissel Jiu-Jitsu, man. Got there when he was 12 and I was 14. We went the same day. I didn't stick around because I got beat up too hard. So 2 years later, I came back and stuck around. But he stuck around from the get-go. And Andrew, there's a room full of grown men, and we were two preteens, whatever you want to call it. And
right.
got beat up for a long time, man. And I think that's how we got good. And also the technique that Andrew was teaching us is solid, and like we solidified that shit in competition, because every time we would go, we'd bring back some gold medals. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And you can ask that around the local jiu-jitsu scene. Like Nick and Powell River, we made a pretty good name for ourselves in the jiu-jitsu scene. So it's only going to keep going. And I think with the MMA, we're going to take this shit over.
Right on. Speak to us in terms of in the training. Is it do you guys do a mix of gi and no gi? And as far as the tachiwaza, the throwing techniques, do you guys is because he got some nice throws, man, in this match. He got a harai goshi, I think, in round number 3, and a really good foot sweep here in round number 2. Is that from Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu training as far as gi based training?
That's actually Nick did quite a bit of judo as well.
I knew it.
Yeah, of course, right? Yeah, I got my yellow belt, motherfucker.
There you go.
Yeah. No, Nick's got his blue belt, I believe. Yeah, okay. We're like, I think the judo club shut down before we could keep going, but we would have definitely kept going because it's a beautiful art. But was this before BJJ? Or was this before same time? 14? Same time.
Oh, interesting. So
I think actually he might have. When I say I came back and stuck around when I was 14, I started back with judo.
Okay.
And then like a few weeks later, picked up both, and then I think the judo club ended or whatever, and we went hard with the jits.
Interesting.
Yeah, heavy jiu-jitsu, and like you said, gi and no gi. I don't understand people that don't do one or the other. Do both, man. The gi helps like crazy, and the no gi helps like crazy. Like, I love both, man. You got to do both.
Right on. And overall, how would you describe, if there were 3 characteristics that define your brother's approach to jiu-jitsu or grappling, generally speaking, what would those three keywords be?
I think he's a top guy at heart, just top guy, real good takedowns, and fucking really good guard too, because you know what, like, yeah, it's the fundamentals is what we learned. The pressure, like, that's our style, is keep some, no wasted time, right?
Right on. And for you yourself, you're a competitor in mixed martial arts. What division do you compete in? What weight division?
Same featherweight.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'll be making my pro debut in July.
For at BFL or?
Yeah, BFL. Okay.
Do you know who you'll be facing?
I got a name, yeah, but I don't really know if, like, contract. I think he accepted on his side, but
okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. No, understood. All good. Let's dive back right into the action here. Round number 3. What do you recall from this match? Anything significant that comes to mind?
From
round number 3.
Round number 3. Okay, yeah, shit. I think Nick took this one as well. I think there was some good. I think this might have been the round he came out with the uppercut. Was that the one?
I think, yeah, there was some standing. Yes, there was a lot of standing.
I think he came right out, and I think he fucking threw the uppercut and landed. Like, Mateo was getting hit in the stand-up. If you rewatch the tape, Nick, he got hit with a few leg kicks, but a lot of the stuff that he was throwing with his arms was hitting a lot of arms on Nick and air. But yeah, I think Nick landed another takedown when it was on the fence with the knees, and then he timed the throw. I think this was in round 3.
Right.
And then it was again similar to round 2, a lot of control, slippery blood action. Nick landing some good damage. I think this was for me, what confused me with the judge's decision is, yes, the submission attempts were great on Mateo's,
right,
but if you look at the end of the fight, Nick had a few bruises and Mateo was all cut up, and Mateo spent 5 hours in the hospital getting stitches, and Nick was eating and drinking like hour after the fight. So it's a credit to Mateo. He still won the fight. I'm not saying,
right,
a decision just it's on paper, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it could have been a draw in my opinion, and really close fight nonetheless.
No, I hear you on it being a close fight. This round here is an interesting one because it's obvious that there was a shift halfway. This is just my opinion, the way I saw it. He executed, the stand-up was an interesting earlier portion of the match. But by the time it went to the ground via your brother's well-timed and executed Haragoshi, things kind of shifted on the Niwaza aspect, in the ground aspect. We saw, I think, an attempted triangle choke onto omoplata, shoulder lock. But around the 1 minute and 20 seconds, I noted here that there was kind of like, I guess the last 80 seconds of the match, Vogel just kind of shifted. Everything just seemed to shift. Did you remember that exchange where your brother was so Vogel was standing, he got up, and your brother was in guard? I think he got pushed down or whatever. Yeah. And he went down, and from there he was just unleashing. I think from there, and I think it landed. The last 30 seconds was a ground and pound finish. So I could see why why you would argue that this round was a questionable one, because you're seeing it being even, and I could see that perspective. I think round number 2 went to your brother. Round number 3, I would say, and I'm not a judge, I'm just a fan watching this thing. I would say it would probably lean more towards Vogel, predominantly because of that last, say, 80 seconds of the match. But I'll
argue that just with it's a similar argument that you gave me in the first round, because Nick dominated the first portion of the third, and then he got ended with some damage of the last portion of the round. Same as the first round, right? But Vogel kind of did really well in the first portion, but then got some damage at the end of the portion of the round. So just to counterbalance your argument there, bro.
I know, absolutely. I'm in full agreement. I'm aware of that sort of. It almost doesn't make sense, because it's arguing. The thing is, I think there was a shift in terms of level of aggression. But then again, you consider the throw, right?
That's right.
When we look at I'll give you the total stats for the entire
3 takedowns to 1.
Yeah, it was 3-3. Yeah, so 3 takedowns to 1. He attempted 4. Vogel attempted 4, only got 1, whereas your brother got all 3 takedowns. And it's interesting too. Yeah, it's interesting because we don't I think that the higher the volume of takedowns, in my opinion, and that transition to the groundwork is what almost dictates how a match, how one dominates. After the Harai Goshi, he didn't dominate the same way he did in round number 2 with the foot sweep. If you go back and watch round number 2, it was almost as if as soon as he landed, it was all Ouellet. You know what I'm saying? For round number 2. Whereas in round number 3, he
back
takes
and forth
it
a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, on the striking, you mentioned the boxing.
Like you mentioned, I think there was a lot of omoplata action, and that led to a lot of sweeps. And but it was a very back and forth round. But then again, I'll edge it just with the damage for the third round. So that's where I stand on the third. It's just really, really close, but edged it just a little more for my brother on the damage.
No, and it's a good point on the damage. I kind of wish
it's hard to tell with how much bleeding there was, though, like how much there was prior, right?
Right, and it's interesting. It's almost like for Vogel, I think he was enjoying the vibe. I don't know if this is the round where
guy's a savage, man.
When he was on, remember when he was mounting a ground and pound and he hit himself. Do you remember that?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. He had Nick in a real tight mount there, and I think Nick was just trying to kind of playing with him, like it's really a bad idea to punch from the mount, but yeah.
and seeing this, like I even mentioned here, I mean that there's some vicious elbows from Vogel, but yeah, I say here in quotes, it's a tough round to score for sure. I think it was more on Vogel's. You think it was more Ouellet, but I could see why you see it that way.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not
Similar to
trying
the first, right?
Yeah,
Like
and
if you think about it, it's like,
yeah, I think round number 4 is a real tough one. Tell us from your point of view what you recall from this round.
So for me, I think this is when Vogel started to take a bit more over because, like you said, at the end of the third, Nick kind of accepted the position a bit more. When like I think he sat to guard when he could have scrambled up, or Vogel beat him up, and then but yeah, maybe the tiredness started to settle in a bit more, and they were both feeling it. But I think this might have been Vogel's round. I think Nick land another takedown in this round?
I believe he did. It's interesting that you say you would give this to Vogel. I kind of want to hear why you think you kind of mentioned it, but you give us
like I said, I should have rewatched it before this, knowing we were gonna break it down like this, because I could have had a way more clear remembering. But yeah, I think from what I remember watching it, I scored it 1, 2, and 3 for my brother, and even 4. I think it was close enough that you could have scored for my brother, but I gave it to Vogel just because, you know, it was I at the end of the fight scored a 3-2 my brother, 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5 Vogel.
Okay, wow.
So that's just why maybe right now when you're mentioning the 4th round, but I really don't remember much from it. I just remember he landed a good takedown and then a lot of back and forth, similar to the other ones. Nick maybe accepting a bit more position, and that's maybe why it leads more towards Vogel in this one.
Do you recall the attempt? I think he was trying to do a calf slicer or calf crusher.
Oh, the truck roll.
Yeah, explain that. Break that down for us. What happened there?
Yeah, I think Nick had him in turtle, I think it was, and then I think it was turtle, right?
Was it turtle? I think yeah.
There's a few ways to set it up. But yeah, he got him in the truck roll, and I remember screaming to settle for the back because the truck roll can be easily countered sometimes. But he had it really tight. He went for the twister a little. He kind of thought about it for a second, but I think he settled for the back and settled for control. And I think he probably went for some more stuff. I really wish I rewatched it for you, man.
Oh, good, man. No, this is great. I just want to share some stats. I believe at the beginning of round 4, so this is the stats from round number 3, going into 4, the standing strikes were 18-14 for Vogel, and submission attempts were 12-5 for Ouellet. I think for me, this round was really even. I can't say it was, Vogel Ouellet. I found it to be a really dynamic round. There was some interesting creative. I think there was even an attempted twister. Is it from Eddie Bravo?
That was from the truck roll there. He did the truck roll and then he grabbed the arm and thought about it. And I think it was so slippery he just settled for the back.
Right. And I mean, they're both exhausted, but it's insane how much endurance and how mentally tough, they just both kept fighting. No one gave up and they kept pushing forward. We're 20 minutes into this thing. This is round number 4, right? By the end of it, it finishes, I believe it's an attempted a Darce choke by Vogel with 20 seconds left. And it's a tough round. It's interesting though that you say 4 and 5 went to Vogel. I would say 4 was certainly even, but I can appreciate. I can see why you're saying 4 could have gone for
I remember scoring it back in. Sorry to interrupt. I remember scoring it back in the room with our coach, and we went one. We're biased, right? But we scored 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then we went. You know what? To be nice, let's give him the 4th.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But that's how close of a round it was. Like it was such a close round, and it's such a close fight that we're we're nitpicking here, right? Like,
right. No, for sure.
like
And
it's hard. I wouldn't have wanted to be a judge in that one. You know what I mean? Like everyone's gonna. If you're Vogel and you give it to Nick, you're gonna be mad. If you give it to Nick, you know what I mean? Like if you give it to Vogel, Nick's gonna be mad. Like that's, in my opinion, it could have been a draw, and both sides could have been happy, or not happy, but frustrated and motivated for a rematch. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, and you mentioned right from the beginning, you mentioned the possibility of a rematch. I think fans would want to. I'm generalizing here, but I myself, I would love to see a rematch because this first match was epic, you know. So I could see the value of a rematch, and who knows how that's going to go, because now that you know, they've both been exposed to each other, and especially your brothers. Like, I can't believe, especially round number one, you know, the relentless submission attempts, and how your brother still managed to find a way out, you know, to counter, to get out of those very, very tough situations. Sometimes we only focus on the offense in terms as viewers, possibly even judges, that unless you know, you're someone like yourself who trains or who coaches, you don't realize how much effort goes in countering or escaping those submissions. For round number one, it was certainly you know, the hyper aggressive and offensive grappling style that's Vogel, and of course you know, that style is really entertaining in my opinion. So like, when you consider that, that's one thing, but when you consider your brother's defense, but also his own application of we saw omoplatas, we saw him attempt, I believe, an arm bar in number two, and the situation
Tried to flip over.
Yeah,
that was really close, actually. That was really close. And then I think you went for a punch instead of it was good though.
And if we can go back, I think it was round number two, if you don't mind, real quick, because we saw this crucifix. Like, I don't know if you remember, like the early UFCs with. Do you remember Gary Goodridge from way back in the day when he got some wrestler?
Oh yeah, the crucifix, right?
Right,
yeah.
with the elbow. It's like an epic. That clip right there is the early days of the UFC in terms of, I mean, that particular segment there.
You want to know something crazy about Nick? Is he puts everyone in that spot, man. Like,
really, eh?
Nick loves the crucifix.
What? Because I don't see. I mean, I when I saw that, I was like, what the? Because it's. I'm thinking like, this is like, I'm thinking Gary Goodridge way back in the early days of UFC.
Yeah, I think it might be a little bit of the judo background. You know, like you can get that position from Turtle. There's a few spots you can get it from. I'm not sure exactly where Nick got it from in this one. I think he just kind of snagged it, like Scramble City, right? Like that's what it was in the fight. So it just kind of happened. But yeah, Nick puts me in that position more often than I like.
Right. No, and the announcers mentioned that he favors that position there. So now, leading into the final round, Raphael, what can you tell us from this round? I know you mentioned previously that you gave it to Vogel. Well, what do you recall from round number 5? What are you telling your brother right before, if you can remember? What are you telling him here? This is the last round. You think he's won 1, 2, 3, and maybe 4 went to Vogel. So what are you telling him here?
I remember telling him that we have to win it. Like it's never like telling him to finish it, because it's never smart to go to the judge, especially with such a close fight. Like I didn't know myself. I was scoring it for Nick, but I didn't know exactly how they were scoring it. So I was telling him he had to finish it, and definitely that he could not accept some positions, because that was kind of how the 4th round was leaning, is maybe accepting position a bit more, like in the scrambles. But yeah, I think telling him to fucking put it on him, because he was in the stand-up. I think he was winning pretty much every exchange.
On the striking side, you mean?
Yeah, for the stand-up, I think he was putting hands on him pretty well.
I mean, it was pretty close in terms of volume. It was 32 Ouellet, 45 Vogel.
I think those were a lot of leg kicks.
Oh yes, that is true. Yeah, he threw a lot of kicks.
All the hands, if you rewatch it, the hands, I don't think Nick got hit with any hands. It was all, I mean, he got grazed with shots, but nothing that was significant. Like a few shots, like the uppercut. Vogel got hit with some big shit on the feet for sure.
In round
That's why
number,
go ahead.
No, please go.
Damage wise, just in general, like if I look at the fight as a whole, like Pride, old school rules.
Wow.
Like I'm like, okay, I'm looking at the fight. I'm like, Nick landed more damage. Submission attempt wise, it was very close, back and forth. You could maybe even say a little bit more towards Vogel, maybe if you want to be generous.
It was 16
damage.
10. It was submission attempts. Yeah, it was 16 for Vogel and 10 for
the stats don't lie, right? So there it is right there. And takedowns, Nick got the takedowns. So yeah, damage and control is so back and forth. So damage, takedowns, and it's such a close fight, right? But that's kind of how I look at it.
You mentioned Pride FC rules, and it's interesting you say that because I was earlier on, I was thinking about that. The particularly with round number one, if this was like, say, the mid 2000s and this was a Pride FC match and they had gone, I believe the first round is usually 10 minutes, right?
Yeah. I think it was 10.
Right. How do you think that match would have went? I know it's kind of random question to ask, but I'm throwing in like round number one, instead of it being 5, it would be 10. How would you see this going? Kind of,
I think it would have probably been a lot of did Nick end on, I think they ended on top in the end of the first.
He did, yeah, he mounted, and then Nick mounted
he was attending some pretty good shots, man. The momentum probably would have kept going in my brother's favor, if I'm honest, and maybe we would have been back and forth, but it's hard to tell. We're in the fantasy world now.
We are. We're just speculating for sure. No,
I got a couple minutes before I have to head out to training, bro. So
awesome. Yeah, we're gonna wrap up here. In terms of round number 5, we do see Vogel take your brother down, I believe. No, that was round number 4. But he takes him down. But your brother attempts a shoulder lock here. This is where he gets a few submissions. But then your brother's got the scarf. Vogel's got the scarf hold, and he's still attacking. But the last
headlock there.
That's right. But the last 2 minutes, your brother attempts a knee bar. I think this was like his 3rd knee bar attempt overall. But then the match ends the last 20 seconds. I believe it was Vogel attacking, just finishing.
He was on top with some good strikes. And I think Nick was landing some good strikes from the bottom himself, though. It's kind of one of those moments where it's like, few seconds left, let's just fucking give it to him, you know?
Right, because I mean, it's that visual that the judges will remember. So as far as overall this round here, you would say you give it to Vogel, yeah?
I would give it to Vogel. Just position wise, he spent a lot of time controlling Nick on the fence, and Nick accepted a bit more position. But I think, in the rematch, that shit won't happen.
What do you think your brother took away from this experience, particularly? This is my last question. What's the main takeaway from this experience for your brother?
Lot of experience taken from it, man. Like I said, I don't want to just go off saying all the little nits and tricks. Now that I'm thinking of the rematch, I'm like, fuck, man. Vogel's a gritty guy, and nothing but respect to him. Like I was honestly really impressed with him. Like I was like, fuck, man, not a lot of people can take my brother to that place, and he brought him to a really hard fight. So credit to him, man. And I still think it could have been a draw, or it could have been scored for my brother, but hey, man, he got the win, and good on him.
Right on, man. Well, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate this, and hopefully we'll see a rematch between these two. And all the best to you and your match. You mentioned in July. Where can people follow you? You have a pretty cool IG handle if you want to plug it.
Ganja Smoke and Mad Rubber Guard. You can find me. My name's Raphael Ouellet. I don't smoke weed, by the way.
Neither do I. Neither do I. All right.
I definitely don't smoke weed, by the way.
Oh, you're serious? Okay. You do, of course. BC. Yeah. Fair enough. All right, man. Thank you very much for your time and have a good training session.
All right. Take care, guys.
Cheers.